I'll be fast. My name is Steve Walquist, and I'm with Uprise Rhode Island. And I just had a few, as people spoke, I had just a few notes I was taking, and I thought you might like some context for stuff. When the Armory closed, according to Eileen Hayes, she said, quote, "We were able to place about 30 folks at a motel, another 20 in other shelters. We have 10 more folks we have to bring to the motel today when we can find them because they lost track of them. And we gave out about 20 tents." Right, so those people were left the Armory, went directly into full outside homelessness. One of the reasons people come to Providence, and I think this is important to know, is because if you go to any shelter, there's a list, usually on the door or in the bathroom, it'll show all the places you can get free meals. Right, every day but Friday, somewhere in the state, there's a free meal. To get there, most of them are in Providence, and to get there, you take buses or public transportation because many people who are homeless don't have cars. And so when we take people out of Providence and we move them to Barville, there's one bus that goes to Barville and back each day, right? One bus goes in, goes out. I think it leaves around 7, comes back around 7 or 8, and that's it. So if you miss that bus, you're in Barville, right? And there's no free meals in Barville that I know of because they don't have that infrastructure and support. Same for doctors, same for your job. I know people who are homeless in Woonsocket, for instance, they have full-time jobs, but they live in tents. And because they don't have, maybe you have addiction issues, maybe have other things, but they can't live in Providence. I know a person who lives at Harrington Hall. He works in Woonsocket. He takes the bus 2 hours there and 2 hours back every day to go to Woonsocket. Never misses his job. He's very highly regarded where he works, but this is his life, is 4 hours a day on a bus there and back. I've known people who have died homeless, frozen to death. I know people who, I know a man who told me that the best thing that ever happened to him was frostbite because he lost his fingers and toes. And as a result, he was put to the top of the CEF list and he found housing for the first time. So to him, losing his fingers and toes was the best thing that ever happened to him. He's very happily in housing now, supplied because of that. Another thing to remember is that when the Armory opened, it drew people to Providence. So if we're talking about people coming here from other places, for instance, know that people used to be housed or living outside in places like Woonsocket, and then they were evicted by the mayor there. And their house, their tents were literally plowed, their possessions tossed away. Same thing happened in Warwick, by the way. The mayor of Warwick says there were nobody living there, but don't forget, you can walk into my house right now and there's nobody home. And you can say, nobody's living here, let's plow it over, let's throw all the shit away, right? Stuff away, sorry. This could be problematic to have a mayor or police officers or people who don't serve those people say that this is an empty encampment when it's not really an encampment, empty at all. Encampments are last resort for people. The reason they form encampments is because they need the safety that comes from having groups of people around them. They can look out for each other. If they're substance users, they don't necessarily die alone. There's somebody to look out for them, maybe have Narcan ready. If you're alone in a tent somewhere in the middle of the woods, you just die, you just gone. And I've known people who have died that way as well. South Providence does become a dumping ground for, as we know, environmentally gross industries. We don't want anywhere else in the state. They put it there because poor people tend to live there and because they can't fight back. They don't have the organizational skills, they don't have the power, they don't have the clout in places like this or the state house or politically to say, hey, we don't want it here. And it's also why we put places, like crossroads and stuff there. Not only does it, so it's a snowballing effect, right? It keeps growing and growing. And I also want to point out that it isn't NIMBYism necessarily to say, hey, what's going on in South Providence? It's NIMBYism in all the other places like the East Side who have got the political clout to prevent that from even coming up. They don't even talk about that. No one's saying, I've never seen a tent at Lippert Park on the East Side near where I live last more than a day. Because they are immediately evicted by the police. But if a tent shows up in a park somewhere in South Providence, it's going to stay there for a while. And there's a reason for that. It's the same thing if you think back even a little while ago when marijuana charges. White kids smoking pot were basically picked up, driven home and told, and then black kids were just taken to the gym, they're just thrown right into the system. We know this is the way it happens because this is the way it happens in this tour. And the last thing I'll say is that as we're making some of these deals to get housing, yes, you guys on this, we should watch out because some of the people that we're signing deals with are notorious slumlords. The person, I think, I forget which group it is, maybe it's Open Doors, maybe it's another one, They're signing with a guy named Zuby, and he is just like one of the worst slumlords in Providence. He has a terrible history. I don't know if anybody's covered him or but I've written about him, and his stuff is terrible, and he just stands to make so much money from this. And we really should think about how we're going to do that ethically as well, because I don't know. He would be somebody I would not mind seeing just take his property and do something better with it. He's not doing a good job. And that's all I have to say, and I apologize for it too long.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.